Good morning and welcome to our Public Safety Personnel Retirement Seminar. Today we're going to be discussing the responsibilities of the local board secretary. We have a lot of new local board secretaries and we'd like to go ahead and have a discussion with this group today who's joined us by the webinar, and those who are in the office came into the office today. We welcome all of you and we're ready to get started. Today we have a few objectives we'd like to go over today. First one is to discuss who the local board secretary is. Also, we'd like to go through a few questions of advice why a local board secretary is necessary for each of the local boards. And we'd like to explain the duties and responsibilities of the local board secretary and get into detail of some of the work that they'll be doing. And also discuss some of the best practices that when it comes to the role of the local board secretary. So to do that, we'd like to start off with the first objective. Who is the local board secretary? There are some definitions per statute that we need to understand and what the function and role of a local board secretary would be to the board. If you ask yourself who's appointed to the local board secretary, who's elected to the local board secretary, or who's assigned to do this work, it's set up by the entity, and according to the law in ARS 38847 section M, it simply states the local board shall adopt bylaws as is deemed desirable. The local board shall then elect a secretary who may but not need to be a member of the local board. The secretary of the local board shall keep a record and prepare minutes of all meetings in compliance with Chapter 3, Article 3.1, have the title and forward these minutes to the necessary communications to the Board of Trustees, which is our office, as prescribed in subsection G of this section. So that's one of the major reasons by law, as you'd record the minutes of the meeting, you would send those to our office on a timely manner. Now, why is the local board secretary needed? The administration of the system and the responsibility for making the provisions of the systems effective for each employer are vested with the local board. Now, in other words, there's a 5-member board, which we'll be talking a little bit about later today, but the secretary kind of keeps things moving and prepares the agendas and gets things ready for these board meetings that are set up. The local board secretary has responsibility for ensuring that the actions and the decisions of the local board are carried out accordingly. In other words, if you vote on a retirement, it needs to be documented and prepared in the minutes of the meeting. All administrative tasks associated with these responsibilities usually are completed by the local board secretary. So there's a lot of administrative tasks that are needed to be fulfilled. Now you might ask yourself, what does the local board secretary do? They have a lot of duties and responsibilities, and we want to review some of those that have the best practices in some of the boards that we've found so far. Let's go through a few of these today. Some of the duties might be complete and submit retirement paperwork for all the benefits for the active members who are getting ready to retire. For example, you may fill out a spreadsheet, have the person who's retiring document that and prepare that and present it to the board for approval. You act as a liaison between the system, which is Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, and the local board. We may send you emails, we may send you correspondence over the year, but the local board secretary is the pivotal person who we'd correspond with. You assist the local board with communications to their members regarding system-related issues. Perhaps there's a letter that would need to be sent to the member. The local board secretary would prepare that and send it to the member based off the action that would happen during the local board meeting. There's a lot of responsibility for preparing and keeping the records of all the minutes, the meetings of the minutes. For example, if you were documenting who attended the meeting, a roll call, you'd go through and make sure all of the minutes and action items were approved and or not approved based off the 5-member board making those decisions. But all that needs to be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. You'd also assist members with the system benefit-related questions. We found that the local board secretary who takes an active role in explaining the benefits to the members, their membership is very happy with knowing what their benefits may be. And this is a great idea to have the local board secretary help explain what benefits are entitled to all the active members. Now, a lot of times local board secretaries say, well, we don't have anything to do right now. But when you get ready to prepare for retirement paperwork, you need to make sure and ensure the accuracy of all the paperwork submitted to the system, public safety retirement system, is accurate, timely, it has minutes attached, and also is signed by the member. Any active member forms that are required from the local board to take action. Perhaps you may have a new membership form that needs to be filled out. The local board secretary would be responsible to send that to our active members department and then start making contributions for that particular member. Perhaps there's benefit paperwork that needs to be filled out, not only for a normal retirement, maybe it's a disability retirement paperwork, it may be for a survivor benefit. Whatever paperwork has to be filled out, a member needs to go through the local board secretary to correspond with our office and give us that paperwork. If you do have a normal retirement, we do have spreadsheets available to help you prepare for that normal retirement paperwork. If you have a disability retirement, there's a complete presentation we put together available on the website to step you through those processes to help with the different types of disability paperwork as well. Perhaps also a survivor benefit. If somebody were to pass away, an active member or a retired member, the local board is the only one who can approve the survivor benefits, but it has to be recorded in the minutes and sent through the local board secretary to our office with the proper approval. Perhaps there's a guardian benefit. Maybe somebody's not age 18 yet and they're not of age to take care of their benefits that they're entitled to. The local board secretary would need to fill out the proper paperwork, again, through the spreadsheet process to fill out that guardian paperwork. Perhaps there might be a death of one of your members, and we'd need to record that and pay out beneficiary information we need to pay out to the beneficiary who's on file the monies that are owed to that individual. So there's a lot of things that could happen over a course of time, and each of these require different forms that need to be filled out and approved by the board in their board minutes. And the local board secretary is responsible to make sure that's forwarded to our office. Perhaps you have somebody going into the drop program and they'd like to work a 60-month period and then leave and actually retire after that 60-month period. The board needs to meet and approve them going in, and the board needs to meet and approve the disbursement of those funds, of the drop funds, when they've concluded their period. And again, it goes back to the local board secretary to make sure that paperwork is completed. Now, we often find ourselves needing to be connected to each individual local board. And the best way to stay connected with you, and that is through the interaction between our system, public safety or corp, and the employer group, is handled by the local board secretary. As we mentioned earlier, that it's not only a pivotal person who we need to correspond to, but is usually the only person that we get to visit with or help through the process of the retirement paperwork as well. So the local board secretary administratively holds a lot of hats, especially with the interaction with our benefits department or active member services. You'd have to determine the member's eligibility and send in the new member forms to our active member services department. You may have questions of credited service or transfer of members. Our active member services department can help you with all those types of questions. And if they need to be transferred from one employer to another employer, we're happy to help out and help the local board secretary determine that. You may have questions on how to calculate a benefit and how much the individual would be earning after a 20-year, 25-year period. The local board secretary has tools available now to help calculate those benefits and process the information. Maybe there's issues with completed members' benefit paperwork. The local board secretary would need to make sure all signatures are on each of the individual lines the board had met and approve the benefit. So there's quite a few little details that local board secretary needs to be cognizant of in order to make sure the paperwork comes to our office completed and on time in a timely manner. Now, the other thing we realized is also says in the law that as you communicate with your members, this is an important idea, that you traditionally, the local board secretary's responsibility in communicating on behalf of the local board to its members. In other words, you're the pivotal person, again, to make sure your membership knows about various programs that are available to them, what their retirement benefits would be. Also, they may need to go through the cancer insurance program. The local board secretary would need to notify the members of all those benefits available. They'd also need to know about the meeting notices, if they need to attend a particular meeting or be there. You need to have communication with the annual member statements through the membership. Those are all available online now for what their contributions have been for the given year. If there's statute changes that affect the plan, our office always communicates through our newsletters and various sources to let the local board secretary aware of what those plan changes might be, what direction the local board is going with their decisions, and maybe occurrences that have happened with the local board. And they're there to help support the local board in making sure those decisions move forward. It also, local board secretary would be responsible for perhaps the local board elections, not only the decisions they make, but the election process. For 2 members of the board to be elected by secret ballot, the local board secretary would be responsible to make sure those elections happen and they are carried forward and communicated to our office as well. Now, each local board has meetings, and you're required to meet twice a year right now. And in conjunction with the local boards, you would have to develop an agenda for all of your local board meetings. You'd need to ensure that the meeting notices were posted in accordance with open meeting laws. Make sure those notices were done 24 hours in advance. And you could move forward with making sure the board members were notified of the meeting and they're all present, all 5 members present, hopefully, when the board makes decisions. You need to understand the application of open meeting laws to the local board meetings as well. You need to record and prepare the minutes of the meeting. Another important task of a local board secretary would be assisting our members. Most members look to their local board for answers to questions regarding what the system benefits may be. Usually if a member calls our office, we need to refer them usually to the local board secretary to calculate a benefit, for example. If you have questions about service purchases, our active members department will be able to help you with those service purchases. If you're calculating retirement estimates, you can do that through helping the member understand what their benefit would be after their years of service. You need to know what their benefit options would be. If they can calculate a benefit after 20 years or 25 years of service, you need to know what those options would be for the member and for the survivor benefits. Not only for drop, but a normal retirement, you need to know what the disability might be and how to calculate that. And these inquiries are usually handled by the local board secretary. That's why it's important that each board has a secretary established to help with those concerns of the board. Alrighty. Now we'd like to talk a little bit about the best practices we've found for local boards and local board secretaries. How to establish consistency and efficiency within the board. You know, best practice we've found so far would be, for example, you may be able to create templates for correspondence of frequently needed documents. Oftentimes, local board secretaries could have those predetermined documents ready to go, those templates, and in case they had perhaps a disability, they'd need to know how to notify the member of that disability. Maybe it's a normal retirement, you'd notify the member also. You'd also need to have a best practice to notify of any pre-existing conditions. Perhaps you've hired a new hire and he went through a pre-existing physical, and you notated something that may prevent him from applying for disability for that injury before. You'd want to send the member a pre-existing notice of that particular injury they found in the physical. Not only for disability retirement decisions, you always want to notify the member of why you approved it or declined it, or sent them to an independent medical examiner, whatever the situation may be, because that's your documentation and that's your proof to make sure you've notified the member of what's happening. Perhaps there's a local board minutes notice and minutes of the meeting. Perhaps those need to be posted to some of the members so they're aware of what happened during that correspondence of that particular meeting. The agenda items is a great idea to have a template all set up. So when they do a roll call or you have agenda items on the particular agenda, you can move through those quickly and efficiently with each board meeting that you have. We also believe that some other best practices might be set up reminders for paperwork and due dates. Now, we know that oftentimes local board secretaries get busy, but our office also needs certain things and retirement packets by a certain date. If we receive each retirement package, as we know, by the 10th of the month, that particular employee would be able to be paid in the given month that it was submitted. We cannot go beyond that because of our payroll cycle and the way we're making payments now. That's why there's a hard and fast deadline of making sure that all paperwork is our office on the 10th of the month. Now, if you have a drop paperwork packets that are coming in, perhaps we could receive those on the 15th of the month. So you'd make the normal retirements a priority and make sure the drop paperwork came in a few days later, because we can process that as the month progresses. We're not making payments on that given month. Another best practice we found is to create retention procedures for the local board documents. Oftentimes we get calls from the local board secretary and say, how long do we keep our minutes of our meeting? Are we keeping the members' files, both the active and the inactive files? Do we have the retired members' files so we can refer back to them if there's a disability process that you need to keep in check? Another great practice is to look at our local board training section of our website, and we'd like to maybe flip over to that for just a minute if we could. By clicking on the local board website, it should automatically come up and show you a few options. We have the model uniform rules that could be adopted. We've got frequently asked questions that are available that have come in for return to work. We've also got the local board training sessions that we have available, the scheduled webinars. We've also got the local board training webinars that we've been doing and how you can get to each of those individually, and also the local board training newsletters. Not only are our current editions and our archived editions are all available, so whenever we've communicated with the board, you're able to review that information. We've also got these local board training materials, the general PowerPoints, and various information available to you on our website. And this is so you can review these documents and perhaps have a meeting with your local board and review some of these PowerPoints or these webinars we've been doing with the board members. So with that said, another good practice is not only the frequently asked questions, the training schedules, the local board newsletters. Just wanted to show you an example of what those would be. We'd also take a look at the PowerPoints and the videos of past trainings. Let's take a look at now the local board retirement instruction guide. Now, this particular instruction guide has been provided for you, the local board secretary, and it's for, we have one that's designed for members retiring prior to health, for members who were in office before January 1st, 2012, and there's also one for those that after. Let's just scroll through this retirement instruction manual for a second so you can see that we have a table of contents, we have what happens and what's important to the local board, and as you go through this, you can see that as a local board secretary, if you've read through this manual, you'll be able to see exactly what you need to do. We've also provided screenshots of our electronic spreadsheets. So if any time you need to do a retirement, it can step you through the process of filling out the static data and then filling out at the bottom, the actual forms will come up. So I wanted to show you that this instruction manual, retirement instruction manual, is designed for you. It'll go through what benefits are available for the health insurance and the subsidies, navigating the spreadsheets, how to find the spreadsheets. All of this information is involved embedded in this particular retirement instruction manual, and it should help you go through and document exactly what's happening with each particular form you're filling out. And giving you checklists for normal retirement, drops, deferred annuities. Everything is listed in this instruction manual. And if you have not pulled that up and saved that as a favorite bookmark, you may want to do that as a local board secretary, because you can process just about any retirement using this particular spreadsheet, as we can see here. Thank you. So be sure to review that and bookmark that for your future reference. Alrighty. The other thing I wanted to show you for just a minute is some of the PowerPoints and video presentations that we've had available for you. These are all webinar archived, and we've now put these on YouTube so you can view them at any time for your local board training. So if you pull up that particular screen, you can see now that all of the training and webinars that we've provided are all listed in an updated video format for you. So at any time you want to have a board meeting and review these with the board members, or a portion of it, you can find the financial updates. You can see the member benefit overview that we presented a month or so ago. If you'd like to talk a little bit about the training of the local board, any fiscal updates that we've used, return to work rules will be reviewed, court benefits, open meeting law, a full training on open meeting laws if you'd be interested in viewing that as a board or as a local board secretary. So we provided these so you can actually listen to a portion of it or some of it or all of it, so your board meetings can be more productive in helping the board members know what they need to know on a timely basis. So we'd encourage you to click on those and upload the video off of YouTube that we've now used to have that streamlined directly to your computer. It can be viewed by just about any apparatus out there now, any hardware. With that said, you can see there's quite a few good practices, best practices we've implemented for you. One of the wonderful things we've done for you also is you can sign up for what's called the local board portal. And this is our local board website, and this is where you can help the members calculate and find their high 3-year average just by knowing your Social Security number of the member and a potential retirement date. And it will help you calculate that benefit for that individual and look through the database to find that information. So we just want to encourage you to make sure, if you haven't already, we know we've got probably most of the board signed up now, but if you haven't, this is the best practice to sign up for this local board portal, and this is on our front page of our website. Another best practice we found is to ask other local boards for any tips that they might have that may have helped them. Oftentimes, sister boards can visit with each other and work out certain things, because each board is worked with a certain situation. They may have information that help another board out. So we always encourage you to have communications with various boards that might be in your geographic area. Okay, we do have contact information for you today. For our local board training department, you can see myself, Don Minear, or Robert Ortega are always happy to help you with your situations and making sure you know the benefits for the members. In our active member services department, we've got LaDawn Toger as our manager. And as again we mentioned, if you have a service purchase or any type of information you need, LaDawn's group would be more than happy to help you with any transfers or a purchase of military time, whatever it might be. Many of you know Bonnie Brown, our retired members manager, And you can always communicate with her about any benefits or anything that's coming up. Also, we have Annette Jorgensen, our insurance manager, and her contact information here. So if you have this information available to you, you should be able to contact just about anybody here in the office as far as local board needs or active members or retired members or an insurance group. They're always happy to help you out. So what we wanted to do is thank you for attending today. This is the first segment of our presentation, and we'll start up with the next portion unless there's any other questions. Thank you for coming so far. Now, what we wanted to do is just review with you briefly. Now that you know what you need to do as a local board secretary, we also need